It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining me on the Sam Lesante Show, folks. The race continues. The political race continues. November 6th, whatever you do, folks, please vote. Okay, now, vote for the people that you know about. Do some homework. Check and see who they are. My guest today, no stranger to the Sam Lesante Show, Dan Meuser, running for Congress in the 9th Congressional District. And we're going to talk about a few things today, Dan. I want to ask you a question. I know you about 8 years, 9 years.
A little bit longer, yeah.
Yep, you were on, and interesting because anybody could go on YouTube, our shows, and they'll see who you were and what you did and what you said. And always, I said, you always came up with true facts. But successful business person, okay, started from scratch, developed a fabulous business, wonderful family. And now you want to get into this craziness of politics, okay? First of all, I applaud anybody, okay, with the substance that you have and many other people running for office, because we need good politicians, which I think makes good government. But why?
Well, that's a good question. Boy, well, you know what? For me, it started a long time ago. When I was young, if you talk to friends of mine, when I was in school and in high school, they would not be surprised at all that I'm seeking to represent the 9th Congressional in Congress. My father was a police officer growing up. My mom stayed home with us when we went to school. She went to work. They were both politically minded. In the late 70s, when Jimmy Carter was president, I'll never forget when he came on TV, when all kinds of bad things were happening in the United States. We had an oil embargo against us, where my father worked, was about to go bankrupt, and he wasn't going to get paid. There were long gas lines. We had hostages overseas. It was just a bad time in America. And here the president comes on television, and I'll never forget, wearing a light blue sweater, saying, "Hey folks, this is the way things are going to be. You better get used to it. Prepare for a cold winter." And frankly, I remember thinking to myself, and I was about 14, 13 years old, are you kidding me? This is not the America that, the American dream. This isn't what America was based upon. And I remember thinking right there, one day I hope to do a lot better, to really make a difference. And then came along over the next several years, Ronald Reagan, and he came in with confidence. He enacted policy that put limited government and put the confidence in the American people, and that created inspiration, and it created the booming 80s. It just shows what real leadership, what conservative principles, and what an outlook on the greatness of America can do. And I think, frankly, we're experiencing that right now, and that's one of the reasons I'm very excited about running at this point in time. I do believe there's significant change in the air, and our government and our country is on the right track, and I plan to be very much part of that.
When you look at the politicians, I get a lot of them on the show, as you know, and people say, "Well, why does he want to run for office?" What is it? What's in it for them? Like there's something that what's in it for them. Knowing you, okay, and knowing the fact that you've always been upfront with everything, what's in it for you?
I love my country. I don't think, like many people, that our government is treating our country properly, is doing a good enough job. I do believe the experiences that I've had over the years, 25 years in the private sector, 4 years serving as Secretary of Revenue, proving there at Revenue that implementing conservative principles and business practices can improve an agency of over 2,000 people that brought in revenues of over $30 billion. We were actually named in that 4 years the most improved Department of Revenue in the country. And honestly, Sam, looking back, I could have done a lot more for the people. And now I'm in this position, and I think I can do a good job for the people. I don't want to be an armchair quarterback at this point in my life. And I'm fortunately in position to go into public service, into elected office, and help make decisions that are in line with we the people. In Washington, I agree with people, the frustrations that exist, right? There's more special interest and more self-interest. There's not the we the people interest. And that's going to be my interest every day.
When you look at success, you look at anyone. If you're looking, you need surgery. You look for the finest doctor. When you're looking for legal, you try to get the best attorney, lawyer as you can, and you always look at their record. You know, what have they achieved? When I looked at what happened with Corbett, and he interviewed him before he became Attorney General, second time, he ran for governor. Everything he said, he accomplished. All right, and began to the state was starting to go like this. Okay, now here's a man that I'm thinking politically. Here's a man that did everything he said he was going to do, Dan. Okay, so the discouraging thing is, you know, what happens? Okay, our special interest and that more powerful than the fact that this guy lived up to everything he said he was going to do. You were in the cabinet.
I was good, honorable man, but you know, I'm looking forward. And I look forward and see right now what President Trump is doing, and and his agenda, from lowering taxes and putting more money in people's pockets to greatly, enormously minimizing regulations, so government starts getting out of the way of people. You know, it's lead, follow, or get out of the way. The regulations are in people's way. I hope next year I can be part of voting on repealing and replacing Obamacare, which is terribly burdensome for the people of the 9th District and the people of our state and the United States, with premiums and deductibles just going through the roof on a regular basis, crushing disposable income, which is everything. I mean, look at what's happened in the last 2 years. Okay, I do support our president, but irregardless of whether or not people want to say this or that about him, look at the results over the last 2 years. Our unemployment rate is historically low. Wages are going up. Consumer and business confidence are at the highest they've been since 1983. All right, since Ronald Reagan and the beginning of the booming 80s. I am for doing everything possible to make America as great as it should be, according to our Constitution, right? So there's the economic side of things. There's the border security side of things. People are very concerned about the fact that we don't have border security, that we don't know who's coming into our country, and those that are coming here are basically living off of taxpayers. All right, we should defund sanctuary cities, and we need to support ICE, not disband ICE. My opponent, for instance, in this race, everything I just stated that I'm for, he's against. So that's another strong reason I'm running, right? We are trying to correct things and accentuate the positives of America for all people. Democrats, Republicans, independents, old, young, you name it. Create opportunity for young people. We are on track to be doing this. The left is opposed to everything Trump, right? So
why is that, Dan?
Well, because all they care about is power, not people. Real simple.
That's the thing.
They want the swamp. They don't want to drain the swamp. The swamp is their living.
Yeah, exactly. when you're looking at, I was reading yesterday, the average household is getting about $2,500 to $2,600 more a year. That's the average house, okay? In some cases, even much more, okay? In some cases, a little less. But it's $2,500 according to... So now you have more women working in the country, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, more Hispanics working in the country, more African Americans working in the country. Okay,
all the data's there.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's all there. So why would you then want to vote for a party? And if it was reversed, I'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
Why would you then want to put these people in that were against all of this? I can't understand that.
And add to this, in the short, if they were actually to succeed, which we're working real hard to make sure they don't, and win the House, they'll also, on top of that, do their very best to not even have an election in 2020, but try to impeach, unwarranted and unjustifiably, try to impeach our president over the next 2 years. That's what's at stake in this election.
Don't you think the American public, especially our friends, the seniors, who incidentally are scared, you'll see the wacko liberals come out and scare them, saying we're to take away your Medicare, take away Social Security.
All nonsense.
Which is all nonsense, okay? If they've seen this for a year, I hope they don't buy it.
Real fear tactics.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Now, so you made a decision and you hit the campaign, okay? Now people are going to come up to you and they're going to tell you the way it is, okay? We're in people's living rooms right now, so I try to ask questions that they would ask you, okay? So what are the key things that people are asking you or telling you or advising you? You know, the average person out there that gets up in the morning, goes to work, try to support their family, etc. Right. What are they telling you?
Well, they want you, first of all, they want you to be consistent, and they want to have trust that you're going to follow the policy path that they believe in and that they think is better for America. And it's many of the things we just talked about. Minimize tax, limited government, lower regulations. Let's reform, replace and repeal Obamacare, border security, work on draining the swamp. They want a member of Congress to say, as I do, that I am for term limits and I will abide by term limits. They want a member of Congress that is for a balanced budget amendment. They want a member of Congress who isn't going to, once they leave being a member of Congress, become a lobbyist within a year. All those things I think should be enacted, and I guarantee you there's no chance the Pelosi Democrats, the Congressional Democrats, my opponent, would ever be for any of that, because that's their livelihood. No term limits, no drainage of the swamp. Yes, the revolving door and a balanced budget amendment. Spending is where they gain their power and their influence. So along with having the short-term consequences, if we lose the House, of Nancy Pelosi being, because a vote for my opponent is a vote for Nancy Pelosi. So Nancy Pelosi being Speaker and their attempts to impeach the president, think about the long term. It's enlarging the size of the federal government, forsaking the private sector, and for government to control and independence to be minimized.
Now you've really been around. I mean, you've been all over the place, okay? And you're getting one-on-one with a lot of people as you're doing this. Now I know you for many, many years, so I know who Dan Meuser is. Okay, he's no phony. He's always been there. He's always told the truth, and it's there on YouTube if you want to check any of his shows I've done with Dan. And as you're doing this, Dan, okay, no surprise to me, you picked up a lot of endorsements. So that tells us who are some of the. I know there's a lot. Okay, first of all, you got pro-life, right?
Yeah.
What was your stand on pro-life?
I'm very pro-life. I am for defunding Planned Parenthood. I believed in the sanctity of innocent human life. There again, the big contrast. Completely opposite sides of the spectrum. My opponent is, according to the Pro-Life Association, for abortion on demand. Doesn't even qualify. It doesn't even state that he's against late-term abortions. So again, way different than the vast majority of people of the 9th District, and certainly far different than I. But we have many. I appreciate endorsements quite a bit. We have most of the mayors throughout the 9th Congressional. We have many of the police chiefs, which I'm very honored by. Every state representative, Republican, throughout the district, which there are many, I think 9 or 10. Some are former colonels in the United States Marines. Frank Ryan, for instance, in Lebanon, and Tara Toohill, and in Schuylkill County, Jerry Knowles and Mike Tobash, who's just terrific, and Dave Argel, who's the leader in eliminating school property taxes, which is a state issue, but from a federal standpoint, I plan on weighing in very much so on, because I do believe school property taxes should be eliminated. So what the endorsements do is they, in my view anyway, they give me a reputation to live up to.
Yes.
Right? If I get an endorsement from the mayor of McAdoo, for instance, Dane, which I did, if Dane says, hey, there's an event in McAdoo, we need you there, guess what? I got to be there. And
You've certainly been around, I'll tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about endorsements. But you have to live up to them, and they help you get noticed by people who haven't met you yet.
You know, the recent, with this rain and the floods, et cetera, you know, I know you've been extremely active in going and visiting these places, and you know, I guess when you see it hands-on, you know, it's a different perspective than watching it on television or reading about it. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, that is the greatest thing about a campaign. I mean, it's a process, but the people you meet, you know, I'm amazed every day, impressed every day. and motivated every day to not let them down. And dealing with watching them deal with the issues, flooding, for instance. This flooding has been absolutely awful throughout Schuylkill, throughout Berks, throughout Luzerne, Carbon, Columbia. It's been crushed, Benton, and other areas, and frankly, I'm highly frustrated and doing everything I can right now. When I'm in office, I plan to do a lot more at the response. The responses are poor. You have people from the governor's office, frankly, showing up and getting the photo ops and all. And 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, nothing's happening. Now, I did hear this morning from Ricky Nye in Tremont that there is some movement from PEMA, finally. Many of us have been weighing in there because PEMA needs to talk to FEMA in order to get some funding, which people desperately need. So, I'm involved nowhere near as much as I want to be, and that's frankly another reason why I want to represent the people in Congress, so I can weigh in and go to work for them here at home.
Folks, I'm talking to Dan Meuser, running for Congress in the 9th Congressional District of November 6th, very important. But for those of you who want to know more about Dan, and when I say to you, when I've asked him questions way back, and how he answered them, and always factual and always to the point. Just YouTube the Sam Lesante shows with Dan Meuser, and you'll see what I'm talking about. We come back, I'd like to find out about when Dan was there with Trump and what's going on internally with a lot of things that we should be concerned about. Remember, my friends, particularly all my senior friends, do not let them scare you. Do not let them scare you. They're not going to do away with your Social Security. They're not going to cut Medicare. Okay, they're not going to do that. They're going to give you the same old nonsense they've been giving you time and time again. Check the candidates out. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, watch all of our shows. For those of you who do not have cable, which you should have, just download YouTube. Search SSP TV and you get all the shows on YouTube. And for those Hispanic friends, the shows are also translated into Spanish for you. Our app, search SSP TV, you can watch all the shows. My guest today is Dan Meuser, running for Congress in the 9th Congressional District. So Daniel, you had the opportunity of speaking at the Trump rally. How was that?
It was fun. It was fantastic. Yeah. We had such great Americans in that audience. There were about 11,000 people in the arena in Wilkes-Barre. And I understand there were another 5,000 outside. People with VIP tickets couldn't get in along the way. The president was kind enough to give me the opportunity to speak prior, and that was a ball. Laid out how I would support the president, how I would support Lou Barletta, how we had to get Lou Barletta elected, and the contrasts and the type of member of Congress I would be, believing in the agenda as I was talking about earlier. So it was, and talking about the importance of what direction we were going to choose for the country. It was really terrific. And then the president gave me a shout out right afterwards, how important it was to get myself and John Schrin and John Joyce, another gentleman who's run for Congress in Pennsylvania, elected. So it was an absolute ball. The president is very charismatic. Did a good job. People get him. The man is he's the same person at the podium that he is behind the podium. He's honest, and so I think people appreciate that.
When you're there, there's all walks of life, okay, at these rallies, because friends of mine have been there. In fact, Father Steve, a good friend of mine, Father Steve Brosk, was the invocation. But the vets, they're good friends of yours, aren't they?
There were so many veterans in that crowd.
Yeah.
Veterans look at the president perhaps like they've never looked at a president. They know he's sincere. They know he's working for them. I am working towards gaining that same trust with the veterans of our country, old and young and current, those that are still serving. Fortunately, I was recently endorsed by the Veterans for Trump a national organization, which I really appreciate, and I'm going to live up to that endorsement. And it's just so much we owe our veterans. And we fortunately have a good VA, the Lebanon VA, in the 9th Congressional, which veterans do speak very highly of, and I've visited a couple of times, and I'm in touch with the leadership there, with the administrators there, and I talk to them regularly about different vet issues and about different specific veterans, and when they're not receiving the care that they think that they should be, and developing a good relationship there, supporting the President's Veterans Choice Act, so veterans can go very often to another hospital if a VA, for instance, is not providing them the same level of care that they require, or if it's not within the 40-mile proximity to their home. So there's a number of initiatives that I look forward to enacting that will improve the lives of and families of our veterans.
There are many things that Congressman does to help his constituents, but also those people in America. Sanctuary cities, you touched a little bit about that before, okay? We do know that some cases we have some congressmen in our own area that have supported sanctuary cities. Now, when you hear the word sanctuary city, okay, what do people take out of that sanctuary city? Because that word sanctuary sometimes is that, well, this is a good thing, okay? Or, why isn't this a good thing?
Well, it prohibits, or a sanctuary city will not arrest an individual or call ICE after they are arrested because they are here illegally. So if someone gets arrested for committing a crime, they will not engage the Customs Enforcement Agency in order to, Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE, in order to deal with their illegal immigrant status. It's outrageous. So very often, if somebody posts bail after committing a crime, they're once again free, even though they are here illegally, already breaking the law. So sanctuary cities are unconstitutional. They're not following federal law. They're running amok. They are not what the vast majority of America wants. And back to being unconstitutional. That's enough for me.
The following, and this is again what I have trouble understanding, okay, is that I see the Philadelphia mayor, okay, actually dancing, as you saw on that spot, excited that, oh, we got sanctuary cities, okay, and then here we have a 5-year-old girl that was raped.
Because
okay.
Somehow he thinks that is something that immigrants want.
Yes.
And most immigrants don't want, but the left feels that by offering the sanctuary city, they will gain the support of those individuals and gain their votes and et cetera, which keeps them into power. It's not about people, it's about power and with the left. And that too is against our Constitution, right? It's about we the people. They're going down a bad direction. Why do you think there's so many socialists being elected these days? As opposed to what may have been traditional Democrats, there's a lot of good ones. We may disagree on certain things, traditional Democrats, Kennedy Democrats, let's call them. But this isn't the party of John Kennedy anymore. This is the party of Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Maxine Waters, Bernie Sanders, okay? Democrat socialism, which is defined as socialism. That's not what has made America great, and that is not the American way that people in the 9th District want. And I'm here to tell you that every person who's running for, my opponent, for instance, seeking to get into Congress and work for Nancy Pelosi is part of that liberal agenda. And frankly, it's up to the voters to make sure that it doesn't happen.
So as you continue on the campaign, and hopefully we're going to get people out to vote November 6th, and hopefully they'll make wise choices. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing right now that the seniors should be concerned about, because I mentioned before, you'll see these ads now where they're saying, like Barletta's going to cut Social Security, Medicare, and all this, and it's the old scare tactics that they use. They figure they got something that, oh my God, they're going to cut my Medicare. They can't do this. Okay, what do you tell these people?
Well, there's a lot to do in general. There's still a lot to do, right? We want to make the tax cuts permanent for families and for small businesses, what we're calling tax plan 2.0. We do not have a legal immigration reform and immigration policy that assures that illegals don't come into our country. We do need to build the wall, which is border security. Just like somebody locks their home and has a door, we need a gate and high walls. Call it even a wide gate, but we need to know who's coming into our country. There's a lot to do. Related to Social Security and Medicare, look, people have paid into Social Security. If there's one thing that older people, middle-aged people should be assured of, is that, from my standpoint anyway, is that they have no risk of losing or getting anything changed in the Social Security that they are counting on. They paid into it. They paid 6.5%. Their employers paid 6.5%. That's 13% over a 30, 40-year period in many cases. And then in the investment growth that goes along with it. Yeah. There are other places to cut. Medicare, look, Medicare is important to so many people, and Medicare needs to be sustained as well. Now, I am for trying to find efficiencies, but that do not affect the people and their ability to receive the proper health care that they expect and has been promised to them.
Your website is what?
Meuserforcongress.com.
Okay, Meuserforcongress.com, folks. All of the information's there. Once again, Dan's been on the show many, many times, going back maybe 8, 9, 10 years. And for those of you who really want to get to know, what he says, does he follow up with? Here again, if you go to YouTube, Sam Lesante/Meuser shows, you'll see what it's all about. I can only tell you, I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Sam.
Hopefully, we'll get you on one more time before the election.
Thank you. That would be great. Campaign's going great. We just need more people's involvement. We need everybody to get out to vote on November 6th.
Folks, we'll see you next time.